Tokyo transcends the simplistic notion of a mere geographical coordinate or a jumbled mass of glass, chrome, and steel. It is, in essence, a colossal biomechanical leviathan, a vast, intricate cybernetic neural network that ceaselessly pulses with the synchronized, relentless rhythms of over 41 million individual beating hearts, all contributing to its vibrant, ceaseless energy. To genuinely comprehend the sheer, staggering magnitude of this urban titan, one must attempt a truly impossible mental feat of logistics. Envision the entire population of Canada, every man, woman, and child, spanning from the rugged, salt-sprayed Atlantic cliffs of Newfoundland to the pristine Pacific shores of British Columbia, compressed and concentrated into a single, high-octane, neon-drenched metropolitan basin. That, astonishingly, is the scale we are dealing with. This isn't the feverish dystopian fantasy born from the mind of a science fiction novelist like William Gibson or Philip K. Dick. It is the tangible, daily lived reality of modern-day Tokyo, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the global urban landscape. Here, the very concept of metropolis doesn't just evolve, it reaches its final, most transcendent form, a city that has effectively shattered the traditional boundaries of urban planning to become something more akin to a sentient organism, a self-aware entity that breathes through its subway vents and processes thoughts through its vast network of fiber-optic cables. The late Anthony Bourdain, a man who dedicated his life to traversing the globe in relentless pursuit of visceral truths and tantalizing culinary ghosts, once insightfully observed that hidden within the seemingly infinite, folding layers of this megalopolis are not one, but 15 or 20 distinct versions of Manhattan. Each unique enclave, he suggested, harbors its own specific dialect, its own dark, whispered secrets, and its own haunting, singular soul, creating a mosaic of diverse urban experiences. To walk through Tokyo is to embark on a journey through a multi-dimensional, living collage, where the boundaries between neighborhoods are not demarcated by physical fences or signs, but rather by subtle, almost imperceptible shifts in the very frequency of the air itself. You cross an invisible line, and suddenly the gravity feels different. The light strikes the pavement at a new, unfamiliar angle, and the ambient noise transforms from a consistent low hum into a frantic, energetic staccato. It is a place where dazzling, neon-lit futurescapes, seemingly ripped straight from a cyberpunk fever dream, collide with breathtaking intensity against the long, reaching shadows of feudal history. In the narrow, smoke-stained alleys of Golden Guy, where every wall seems steeped in decades of jazz melodies, lingering cigarette smoke, and the quiet hum of intellectual rebellion, the pungent, comforting aroma of charcoal-grilled yakitori drifts lazily past gleaming, high-tech vending machines displaying their wares on vibrant LCD screens. This sensory overload is so profound and all-encompassing that it feels simultaneously extraterrestrial in its novelty and achingly beautifully human in its essence. It serves as a constant, powerful reminder that even amidst a towering forest of steel and silicon, the primordial fire of human connection continues to burn with a fierce, quiet intensity, anchoring the ethereal spirit of the city firmly to the earth. Yet, as the city hums softly outside my window during the quiet velvet hours of the night, a low-frequency vibration that never truly ceases, much like the gentle purr of a massive, slumbering engine, a haunting question inevitably shadows my thoughts. How did a place that once served as nothing more than a humble, isolated fishing village, tucked away from the prying eyes of the world, transform into this unstoppable, awe-inspiring concrete monolith? How does a city of such colossal, almost suffocating density manage to not only function, but to thrive with the rhythmic, almost mechanical precision of a handcrafted Swiss watch? Furthermore, how do millions upon millions of people move, work, and exist in a state of precarious, delicate harmony without the entire intricate structure crumbling under the crushing, atmospheric weight of its own immense existence? The underlying narrative behind this astonishing transformation is far more extraordinary and perhaps more desperate than any dry academic history book could ever hope to adequately convey. It is, unequivocally, a saga of profound resilience, carved directly from the unyielding bedrock of necessity, serving as a powerful testament to what happens when human ingenuity is pushed to the absolute, jagged edge of survival. Pause for a mere heartbeat and attempt to inhabit the psyche of an average Tokyoite. Every single morning, much like a solitary cell moving through a complex biological artery, they skillfully navigate the subterranean labyrinth of the world's most sophisticated and extensive subway system. They stand pressed, shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of strangers, in a humid, tightly choreographed dance of human endurance. Yet, remarkably, there is no shouting, no aggressive shoving, no descent into animalistic chaos. Instead, amidst this crushing proximity, a pervasive, almost eerie calm settles a silent, collective social contract known as time's wa, or harmony, which governs their interactions. This wa acts as the invisible glue, the essential social lubricant that prevents 41 million individuals from colliding and shattering under the immense pressure of their shared existence. In the West, we frequently view the individual as the primary fundamental unit of society, the atom that dictates the reaction. In Tokyo, however, the primary unit is not the individual, but rather the flow. This subtle yet profound distinction underpins and shapes every aspect of city life. There is an unspoken, deeply ingrained agreement that punctuality is not merely a personal preference or a polite professional courtesy, but a sacred civic virtue that must be upheld at all costs. In this city, being even 1 minute late is not simply an inconvenience. It is perceived as a profound betrayal of the collective, a disruptive grain of sand thrown into the meticulously crafted gears of a massive, complex machine that must never, ever stop its rhythmic operations. Over half of the 41 million people residing in the Greater Tokyo area rely heavily on public transit every single day. To sustain its title as the world's largest city, constant motion is absolutely non-negotiable. In Tokyo, stillness is not merely an absence of action. It is seen as a systemic failure, the very enemy of prosperity, a virulent cancer threatening its essential metabolic rhythm and existence. If the trains stop, the very heart of the nation stops beating. The city understands, with every fiber of its being, that it is fundamentally a creature of flow. To stagnate is quite simply to die. While the legends of antiquity often recount the chaotic disintegration of ancient metropolises like Babylon or Rome, Tokyo's daily traffic flow is, in stark contrast, a modern miracle of engineering, a fluid, electrified ballet performed on a scale that frankly defies human comprehension. Its rail system stands as the most extensive on the planet, an astonishing circulatory system of steel veins and fiber optic nerves that never truly rests, even when the stations are shuttered for the briefest of intervals to allow the vessels, the trains themselves, to be meticulously cleaned and maintained. If one were to overlay a detailed map of Tokyo's transit network onto the often crumbling, disjointed infrastructure of cities like Los Angeles, Rome, or Delhi, the sheer, staggering scale of the difference would undoubtedly leave you breathless. This impressive physical network, however, is merely the visible tip of the iceberg. It is the tangible manifestation of an invisible, highly disciplined collective mind that instinctively and consistently prioritizes the well-being and efficiency of the whole over the fleeting whims of the individual. Consider, for a moment, the architectural titan that is Shinjuku Station. Recognized by the Guinness World Records as the single busiest transport hub in existence, it handles a daily footfall equivalent to the entire population of either Berlin or Los Angeles passing through its labyrinthine gates every 24 hours. With over 200 exits and a layout so profoundly labyrinthine, it seems to defy the basic laws of Euclidean geometry. The station should, by all logical rights, be a perpetual site of permanent gridlock and overwhelming human misery. Instead, it astonishingly remains the most efficient transit point on Earth, a living testament to the sheer power of organized mass movement and the quiet, yet unyielding iron discipline of the Japanese commuter. But have you ever paused to wonder why Tokyo, unlike the centralized hearts of London, Paris, or Chicago, lacks a single definitive downtown core. The answer to this reveals one of the deepest secrets of the city's remarkable survival and prosperity. Tokyo has masterfully perfected the art of transmuting chaos into formidable strength through radical decentralization. This is, quite literally, urban evolution via mitosis. In most global metropolises, everything commerce, culture, and political influence funnels inexorably into one singular, often overburdened, central core. Tokyo, however, is simply too vast, too explosive, and too dynamic to be constrained by such a narrow, almost Victorian definition of urban planning. The logic is simple. If a single heart grows too big, it will burst. Therefore, Tokyo evolved by growing multiple, specialized hearts, each beating with its own distinct and vital rhythm. You could stand amidst the dizzying, neon-drenched heart of Shinjuku and feel, with absolute certainty, that you are positioned at the very center of the universe. Yet, if you were to board a train and travel merely 45 minutes in almost any direction, you would emerge into yet another, equally vibrant, bustling, and entirely self-contained center, each with its own unique identity. Precisely because there is no single, monolithic hub that could catastrophically fail, Tokyo's numerous districts have evolved into highly specialized micro-worlds, each boasting its own self-sustaining ecosystem. This remarkably polycentric design serves as a vital buffer against the inherent fragility of any one area. It is, effectively, a fail-safe architecture where if one limb of the city were to be injured or disrupted, the rest of the body continues to sprint forward, seemingly unfazed and undeterred. Take Akihabara, for instance, a prime example of this specialization. It stands as the undisputed sanctum of the Times Otaku Times subculture, a vibrant, neon-soaked nirvana where the very borders between physical reality and digital fantasy blur into joyful insignificance. Here, skyscrapers are meticulously stacked like intricate Tetris blocks, brimming with retro gaming hardware, rare anime merchandise, and an astonishing array of components for machines yet to be invented. The air in Akihabara constantly hums with the high-pitched electronic chirps and digital melodies emanating from countless arcades, creating a unique, exhilarating symphony of digital play. Walk its bustling sidewalks, and you'll encounter cosplayers drifting through the crowd like living manifestations of graphic novels, embodying their chosen characters with striking authenticity. This isn't merely a hobby here. It is a deeply ingrained subculture that has metastasized into a complete immersive lifestyle, actively defining identities and forging vibrant communities. Contrast this immersive world with the electrifying sensory jolt a teenager experiences upon entering Harajuku for the very first time. The air there practically vibrates with youthful rebellion and ephemeral, avant-garde fashion, a dazzling kaleidoscope of styles like Lolita, Decora, and cyberpunk that move in vibrant waves, defiantly challenging traditional social norms and conservative expectations. It is, unequivocally, a living playground of identity, where the only unspoken rule is to be visually unforgettable, a brilliant technicolor explosion within a society often perceived as monolithic. Then, remarkably, within mere minutes, you can effortlessly step into the serene, ancient dignity of Asakusa. There, the sharp, grounding scent of sandalwood incense, wafting from centuries-old temples, hangs thick and heavy in the air, offering a profound spiritual reprieve from the digital noise and hurried pace of the modern city. This transition is undeniably jarring, yet simultaneously seamless, as if the city itself is capable of effortlessly holding both the 17th and 21st centuries in the same hand without breaking either. It is a place where monks in traditional saffron robes walk serenely past teenagers with vibrant blue hair, and neither finds the other out of place, embodying a fluid and profound acceptance of contrasting realities. Or consider Ginza, where an aura of cold, crystalline luxury reigns supreme. 12-story Uniqlo towers and gleaming glass-fronted boutiques stand as bold monuments to modern commerce, nestled elegantly among the world's most prestigious high-fashion houses, collectively creating an undeniable atmosphere of refined, almost understated opulence. Ultimately, Tokyo emerges as a gargantuan, intricately woven quilt, meticulously stitched together from 1,000 different fabrics of human experience. It is precisely this profound diversity, this inherent refusal to be confined to just one thing, to commit to a singular identity, that has endowed the city with the remarkable resilience needed to survive the relentless typhoons of history, both meteorological and political in nature. By the mid-1970s, the United Nations began coining the term megacity to define urban zones exceeding 10 million inhabitants. While New York City claimed this title first in the 1930s, Tokyo didn't simply break the record, it utterly redefined the ceiling of what a city could be, pushing the very boundaries of urban existence into unprecedented territory. The city consistently pioneered and refined systems we now often take for granted. From ingenious infrared sensor parking technology that efficiently stacks cars like delicate jewelry boxes in the sky, to massive electronic displays projecting real-time traffic data designed to prevent bottlenecks before they even materialize, and perhaps most crucially, the world's most sophisticated subterranean flood management systems. These last marvels are the GCANs, colossal underground cathedrals of concrete, specifically designed to divert massive amounts of stormwater and proactively protect the city from the increasing wrath of nature. To stand inside their cavernous expanse is to realize, with profound clarity, that Tokyo's survival is absolutely not accidental. It is a deliberate, meticulously engineered masterpiece of proactive planning and sheer human will. Even the Shinkansen, the legendary bullet train, was born not from a desire for luxury or speed for its own sake, but from an existential necessity to connect millions of people between Tokyo and Osaka with surgical, unrelenting precision, thereby profoundly binding the nation together both economically and socially. These were not merely technological leaps, they were powerful manifestations of a profound, collective fear of collapse. Innovation in Tokyo isn't solely about progress or disruption for the sake of profit. It is fundamentally about survival. It represents a constant, almost feverish fortification against the very real possibility of disappearing under the crushing weight of an earthquake or facing the scarcity of life-sustaining resources. The city builds relentlessly because it deeply remembers what it is like to be broken, to be utterly annihilated. The most fascinating realization of all is that a mere 400 years ago, this burgeoning metropolis was nothing more than a quiet, marshy fishing hamlet known simply as Edo. The year 1633, specifically, marked a tectonic shift in human history, laying the crucial groundwork for its unprecedented future ascent. The brutal, bloody era of the Warring States finally concluded with the decisive victory of the Tokugawa shogunate, which successfully unified the long-fractured nation and strategically established Edo as its de facto capital. Suddenly, the gravitational pull of Japanese power irrevocably shifted, drawing immense ambition and talent to this burgeoning, vital center. Strategically positioned on the fertile Kanto Plain and flanked by a naturally protected harbor, the city enjoyed an immediate abundance of food resources and easy access to extensive trade routes via a complex, meticulously engineered web of man-made canals, thereby setting the perfect stage for rapid, explosive growth. By the early 1700s, historians estimate that Edo had already grown into the most populous city on Earth, housing over 1 million people within a fragile yet beautiful balance of wood and paper structures. Then, in what felt like the blink of a historical eye, it was nearly erased by devastating fires and catastrophic earthquakes, a recurring, almost cyclical pattern of destruction and astonishing rebirth that would come to define its very DNA for centuries to come. Picture, if you will, an Edo merchant standing reflectively on the banks of the Sumida River in the 1850s. The very air around him would have been thick with the promise and the terrifying, undeniable threat of impending change. After 2 centuries of time's sakoku, or self-imposed isolation, Japan was dramatically forced to open its doors to the West by the arrival of Commodore Perry's imposing black ships, sparking a dizzying, neck-snapping metamorphosis that reshaped the nation. Edo was then renamed Tokyo, the Eastern capital, and the city industrialized with a ferocious, almost unimaginable speed, that stunned the world. It became, both literally and figuratively, a crucible of fire. The city was repeatedly devastated, from the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 and the subsequent infernal firestorms, to the absolute, soul-crushing horrors of aerial bombardment during World War II that left the once vibrant city a blackened skeleton of ash and twisted metal, yet with an almost mythical resolve. Like a phoenix rising defiantly from the radioactive debris, Tokyo consistently and relentlessly rebuilt itself. Each time, it emerged stronger, more refined, and infinitely more adaptable than the version that came before. The city learned invaluable lessons from its own ashes, treating every catastrophe not as a setback, but as a detailed blueprint for a more reinforced and resilient future, thereby ensuring that tragedy became a powerful lesson, not an ultimate endpoint. As an American observer looking back at this astonishing historical trajectory, I am compelled to pause and reflect. I vividly recall a Japan that, throughout the 1980s and 90s, was viewed by the United States with a profound, almost paranoid anxiety. We remember the headlines that screamed across our newspapers: the Japanese challenge, losing the trade war. There was a pervasive, almost existential fear that our own domestic industries were teetering on the brink of obsolescence. Indeed, there was a period when Japanese wages actually outpaced our own, and their automotive industry unequivocally dominated our roads, signaling a tectonic shift in the global hierarchy and profoundly challenging America's long-held economic supremacy. Yet, as is often the case, the pendulum eventually swung, and the tides of fortune changed. Japan subsequently entered a prolonged period of economic stagnation, just as the US began its recovery. But the fundamental lesson gleaned from that era remained clear. Economic landscapes are never permanent fixtures. Prosperity is a dynamic cycle, not a final destination, and resilience, above all, is the true and lasting currency. When I encounter an elderly Tokyoite today, someone who still carries the vivid, indelible memories of the smoldering grey ruins of the post-war era standing amidst the teeming, vibrant, neon-lit crowds of Shinjuku, I cannot help but wonder what profound emotions they must feel. Surely, there must be a quiet, stoic pride, perhaps even a tear shed for the heavy, unimaginable sacrifices made by generations to forge such an indomitable spirit. For me, personally, Tokyo is far more than just the world's largest city. It is a profound masterclass in the sheer human will to exist, to endure, and to flourish spectacularly against even the most formidable odds. While many American cities currently grapple with the pervasive decay of aging infrastructure, the tragedy of widespread homelessness, and the crushing, ever-rising cost of living, Tokyo stands as a powerful testament that immense scale need not be an insurmountable burden. Instead, monumental scale can serve as a potent catalyst for greatness, provided we are willing to meticulously plan for the long term and steadfastly protect our cultural soul against the insidious erosion of time. Tokyo consistently manages to house its vast population, maintain its meticulously clean streets, and keep its citizens remarkably safe, unequivocally proving that urban decay is ultimately a choice, not an inescapable inevitability. What truly keeps me awake, my mind often drifting to thoughts of Tokyo, is the profound realization that this city teaches us an invaluable lesson. Even after the most harrowing, soul-shattering disasters, humanity possesses the inherent capacity to rebuild, not just to restore, but to build back better, smarter, and with far more grace. It is a vital message we must diligently pass to our children and grandchildren. Do not fear the inherent complexity of the future. Instead, let us build cities not merely in terms of population density, but in terms of patience, relentless innovation, and an unwavering connection to the community. If you find yourself worried about the future of our urban centers, look to Tokyo not with anxiety, but as a guiding beacon of what is truly possible. Look to a place that was once a sleepy, forgotten fishing village, once reduced to literal rubble by cataclysmic events, and once written off by much of the world, yet stands today as the ultimate, glittering monument to indomitable human hope and ingenuity. If this journey through the rich history and vibrant heart of Tokyo has sparked a profound reflection or ignited a new, compelling perspective within you, I sincerely invite you to share this story with those you hold dear. Let us collectively learn from the ghosts of the past to architect a more resilient, thoughtful, and ultimately, a more hopeful future. I am eager to hear your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. What lesson do you believe the sentient organism of Tokyo holds for the streets and communities of your own hometown? How can we apply this radical, transformative resilience to our own individual lives and challenges?